Hello, welcome back to your weekly astrology update. This is Carrie Astro Breeze, and let's just jump in. We are into our April, just about into our April month. We're at the very end of March today, and we're heading right toward almost, the right away as we head into April, we just plunk right into a full moon. We're into our Libra full moon. So today we are finishing up the moon in Virgo. We're just at the end of that. And tomorrow we have the full moon. We can see, I have it set here for it to, for you to see it, and we have it at 12 degrees Libra. So this is an interesting full moon. We have, the full moon time is always kind of it's like a slight culmination before we start again, before we wind down. It's like testing what you've been working on. And we get this cycle every month. We have these different themes. But this month is our Libra full moon where that is lit up, in your chart. Find out where Libra is in your chart, or see what planets that you have in Libra. But basically, we have, this, of course, the sun in Aries opposing the planets in Libra. That's what a full moon is about when they're opposite. So we have harmony versus conflict. We have compromise versus people pleasing. We have fairness, beauty, mutual respect. Those are all nice Libran qualities. But we have the sun, in Aries opposite the moon in Libra. So the question in the air is, how do I honor my needs, Aries part, without losing the we, Libra? How do I honor my needs without losing the we or others, the Libra part? Okay, it can bring situations to a head in partnerships, close connections, and any area of life where you've been overgiving or under asserting or smoothing things over at your own expense will come up. These are the type of issues we'll be dealing with. Full moons illuminate, they show you what's already there, often in a way that's harder to ignore. So you might notice things like emotional clarity about a relationship. It could be any kind of relationship, romantic, family, work, friendships. So you'll gain some clarity about that. A decision point around settling boundaries. I think this is big for this energy. Speaking up or asking for uh, things to be reciprocal. Okay, so if I do this for you, and can't you do this for me? If I treat you with respect, I expect you to treat me with respect. When you're sick, I care for you. If I'm sick, I would expect you to care for me. This kind of things back and forth. Sometimes people are so focused on their own drama, their own pain, their own problem that they don't see that. So that's the big deal about balancing the Aries and the Libra right now. It's like enough, you have to pay attention to your own stuff, but then be aware of others. So again, a decision point around setting boundaries is good. Speaking up, again, asking for things to be equal. How about a strong desire for peace and beauty in your environment? You want things to feel more graceful and kind. That's the Libra part of that. So look in your chart to see where that is, what house it's in, what other themes it may be. For instance, like my Libra energy in my chart falls in my fourth house. So I would look at things around my home, things, anything to do with home, family, beautification. If it's in your sixth house, it might be about work, it might be about employees, it might be about your health. If it's, say, in the or say if it's in the first house, if you have Libra in the first house or rising, it could be about your appearance, beauty, something, a way promoting yourself, bringing, yourself to others, fulfilling others' needs. So look in your chart to see where it might be. Also this week, it's not a real big week other than the moon, but we do have a few other interesting aspects coming up this week. Let me pull it back up. We have not much going on. I mean, just the full moon, but interesting because the moon is, 12 degrees, so it will be squaring over to Jupiter. So we have moon square Jupiter, which is it could be self-indulgent or apathetic. So watch for that. We also have the moon. Um, you can see there, let me go this way. It's quincunx or 150 degrees away from Mercury. You can see over here, moon up here at 12 degrees. Libra, like we said, and then we have Mercury down here at it's in Pisces still. So the motions in the mind may be a little bit at odds with this moon. And then we also have the sun in it's not getting along with Mercury either. It's 30 degrees away, so it doesn't have a lot in common. So there could be maybe some miscommunications or something different about like your how you feel and how you communicate. That might be a part of this full moon here. And then we don't really have a lot of aspects on Thursday. And then, the moon will then move out of Libra and then move into Scorpio. So Scorpio moon, when, coming in on Friday is a bit more serious, investigative. Is that the word? Investigative? Yeah. It wants to look beneath the scenes. It wants to look at the emotions or maybe examine why do I feel this way or why do you feel that way? Why is this so intense? Why do I feel intense? Why are things so poignant? So we have, every month when the moon goes through Scorpio, we can get this close examining of things. It can give you that peering into your soul or into the soul of somebody or into the soul of something. So we have that. But then Friday, we also have Mercury trining over to Jupiter. This was like 16, 15, 16. You can see here it's water sign and then water sign. So that's nice. And I'll get there the second. But then we also have Venus squaring over to Pluto. So that's a little testy. So a couple of things about that. Let's see and then what's the other one? Then we have the sun squaring, and then on Sunday we have the sun coming into a square with Jupiter. So we have Jupiter in a few things this week. So let's see what I want to tell you about first. So let's just talk about Venus. Venus square Pluto. Oh, so power, money, and what we value. So Venus is, just went into its own sign in early Taurus. So it's squaring Pluto in early Aquarius, right? So we have, Taurus and Aquarius. They're both fixed signs. They don't want to budge. So there's a tension between old comfort systems and new power structures. And isn't this the truth? Ain't that the truth? Collectively, it can kind of look like, well, financial and market volatility. This is classic sharp moves in currencies and stocks, commodities, banking news. Questions like, is this system really safe or just familiar? Intense debates over values, clashes around women's rights, bodies, beauty standards. That's all Venus stuff, right? Money and all that beautification. Also relationships, Venus, art, Venus, and who holds the power over them. See, and then our full moon is Venus ruled in Libra. So this is a little extra emphasis on Venusian things, power and money. I should say money and beauty and relationships. And then we have Venus getting antagonized by a few things here. Anyway, it's also exposing what's been pretty on the surface, but rotten underneath. And there is a lot of that right now. And that is really, really coming up. I think that is the biggest part of this aspect. Scandals in finance. Oh, yeah. Big tech, corporations, and celebrity relationships. This is all going to be coming way more into the fore. Also, the price of things, literally and symbolic, can get questioned. Who pays for this? Who profits? Who's been emotionally or economically undervalued? And then Mercury trining over to Jupiter. Remember, we had a couple contacts there with Jupiter. So Mercury, speech, communications, Jupiter expands anything. So big narratives, big ideas. Mercury and still in Pisces, though it hasn't gotten out of that yet. And it's trining Jupiter in Cancer, which is nice. A trine is a much softer, more hopeful influence running alongside the intense stuff that we have too. But on a world level, it can often bring inspiring or dramatic stories in the media, narratives of compassion, protection, home, families, or refugees. Emphasis on spirituality, mental health, and care systems. More talk about how we support people emotionally, not just materially. Better conditions for diplomacy. Leaders or groups trying to find common emotional ground, at least in words. Okay. Like that might be just rhetoric. So it's very, let's tell a big moving story energy. The upside is visionary thinking and generosity. The downside is spin, exaggeration, or wishful thinking solutions that sound caring, but really need to be poked at and scrutinized. So there's going to be a lot of bloviation. I think that might be a good way to say it. Can really get bloviated. Mercury, any kind of mercurial contact with Jupiter, especially a good contact, can have the very end, the tendency to go over the top, to be blown out of proportions, to exaggerate, to say things aren't true, to puff it up. So watch for that. And then the sun will square over to Jupiter. So this is going to bring a little reality, a little overreach, well, it's a little optimism and risk, but with the sun and again, it's all this cardinal influence, sun in Aries squaring Jupiter in Cancer. So the collective tone, it's bold and it's pumped up. So watch this. It can show up like leaders in institution making big moves. This is scary. Ambitious policies, large scale spending, military posturing, or historic announcements. So we're just about ready to put ground troops in Iran. Okay, nationalistic or protective themes. We must protect our people, our families, our borders, our way of life is becoming, louder. We got to say all this stuff. Oh, those people over there are doing this. We got to stop them before they do that. This is all this bloviated garbage rhetoric, this over the top, egoistic stuff. All right. Overextension. Governments, corporations, or individuals can be taken on more than they can realistically sustain. Again, ain't that the truth? Sometimes in the name of growth or security. I don't want to get into a political rant on this, so I'm not, but I think everybody that might be listening and aware of what's going on in the world right now can see that this is teetering very precariously. And again, as we have all these planets lining up in Aries, it's getting very martial. It's getting very scary. We're as close to nuclear war as we ever have been. And there's models, there's predictions saying that that may be the case. Whether it's a dirty bomb or a big bomb drop, this is just nonsense. This stuff's got to stop. Anyway, it's an expansion energy that doesn't naturally know when to stop. Sun square Jupiter. Okay, great for momentum, risky for hubris. Watch for promises that are larger than the practical follow through. Then we have Mars moving into its own sign of Aries. I usually like this. I have this natally in my own chart, Mars and Aries. So I kind of know this energy. It's in its own sign, but it can be over the top. I have hope good things that keep that in check. But I remember just different parts of my life when things didn't go my way. I remember when I was a little kid. I think I was 5, and I had an upstairs bedroom, and they had painted the windows. We had just recently moved in, and they painted whoever did it. It was probably my dad, and also painted the windows and then shut it, and then it painted it shut. So it's like, summer and I'm in my room. I get to go back in there and the window is not opening and I'm trying so hard to open it, and it's painted shut. So I just took my little fist and I just punched right through the window. It's like, boop, okay, window's open now. I didn't get in trouble, luckily for that. But it was kind of loose and yucky anyway. I didn't really mean to punch it. I kind of was just like pushing it, and it just like it was kind of cracked, and it was an old paint. It just a little extra pressure in it when it went. It. So anyway, Mars and Aries, that kind of energy. You could push something a little bit too much. You maybe have good intentions. I was hot. I was 5, um, and there it is. So it's leaving Pisces and entering Aries. So it's that shift is like, okay, Pisces and going into Aries, it's like shifting from fog to fire. So collectively, it kind of correlates with a spike in direct action. So we could see protests, strikes, confrontations, military operations with political maneuvers. No. This is like right here. I mean, it's just poised, and then we have the ingress. The stuff is already in motion. This is ingressing in. Ingress means it's like coming right into it's ingressing, it's moving into. So it has the influence. It's like when you're walking into your home, your place, it's like you get into close to the front door. You're technically home, just maybe not through the front door, but you're on the front porch. Okay. So that's already in place. So we could have again, uh, military operations, right? Confrontation strikes where it's going on. And then this is coming in on the 9th. I'm just bringing this in. Um, Yeah, so we'll get this next week, but I got to tell you about it. So anyway, more impatience and impulsivity in public life. Enough talk, let's do something. Sometimes helpful, sometimes reckless. I kind of tend to think, especially with other influences that are other Aries influences, it would tend to make it more reckless. Breakthroughs, though, in technology, in sports, or anything that requires courage and speed, but also increases the risks of accidents, fires, and aggression. So Mars in Aries is raw initiation. It is that raw energy. It pushes people and entities to act on what's been brewing. So combined with the Sun squaring Jupiter, Sun, big ego, Jupiter enlarges. There's a real charge the hill vibe in the air. So, putting this all together, this week, the theme of it is pretty much intensified money, power, value. That's our Venus, Pluto. Intensified money, power, value issues. Okay. And then our Mercury, Jupiter, this is the bloviating one. Big emotional narratives and hopeful messaging. Things can definitely just go over the top. Exaggeration. That's a good word for that. Then we have the Sun, Jupiter, leaders and systems pushing the limits, and then Mars into Aries, a fresh wave of action, conflict, and courage. So you might see more extremes, bold initiatives, dramatic headlines, rapid shifts in the market, louder debates around resources, housing, care, and who gets to feel safe and supported. So from a maybe practical everyday standpoint, it's a good week to stay aware of where you might be getting swept into collective overreaction or over optimism with money, with promises, with emotional stories, especially probably, and consciously choose grounded, value-based action instead. You don't want to just go pie in the sky. So that is pretty much the week. Not a whole lot is really moving that fast right now, and we get to almost the end of the week. My birthday Monday, yay! But we're moving everything here. You can see that the lineup in Aries. And as we get just a little closer, let's just move. I want you to see now here Mars. See, Venus luckily has moved into Taurus. I'm so glad that she moved into her, into an earth sign. It's grounded, it's more practical with finances, but then we see it's kind of on the fence with all this Aries energy. And then right here on the 9th, there it is. There is Mars moving into it. So we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 plus Chiron. And then pretty soon we'll have Mercury there. Let's just do the walking. And 1, 2, there it is on the 15th, right in the middle of the month. There it goes. See, so Mars is here. The sun is still here for 4 more days. Chiron moves slowly. It's like 51-year orbit, so that's there. So on the 15th, also we have the sun and Chiron. Let's see. Childhood wounding, physical or emotional, times you've been hesitant to express yourself because there's let's see, you could be sensitive to other people's pain. You might have compassionate nature, understanding other hurts, and also have a need to take care of yourself. So this is, when the sun and Chiron get together, it's again your own ego, and then Chiron, the asteroid of the wounded healer. So you might look at your own wounding, decide to just get over it, or bring light to it and heal it and move on, or with somebody else. So this is bold action. One other thing with Aries, a lot of things can get started, a lot of things might come up and be all excited, and then you'll never hear about it, and they'll just go right away. So just kind of watch that, these things that seem too good to be true or that aren't. So this is kind of the buildup here, and then let's go a couple more days, and then the sun finally moves into Taurus. It'll be there on the 19th, and we'll have two planets, actually three still. We have Uranus still there. And I don't want to get into this right now. We've talked a little bit about it, but this is this whole new energy when we have all this Taurus energy starting to move into Gemini. All right, well, that's what we can look forward to. We got to kind of make it through this Aries stuff. And then here we still have these, these planets here, but Mars and Mercury are going to move out. They move fast, they move with the sun, but we're still going to have this is our Saturn-Neptune combination in Aries for Saturn will be there for 2+ years and Neptune about 14. So we've already talked about that Aries energy, but just look real quick, moving them out. Let's see when they actually move out. Okay, Mercury moves out on May 3rd. And then let's when Mars moves out of there. Chiron's getting close. Mars moves out like what, on the 19th? 18th. On the 18th. Okay, so we got a good 6 weeks here before we could get a lot more change in the weather here. So this is what we've got coming up. And back to our Libra Aries full moon, again, look at yourself and partners and others, balance your own needs with others. How do you keep balance and be true to yourself and yet not be swamped by others, either way? So that is the balance that this full moon is asking of us. All right, I hope this helps. Thank you for listening. Bye for now.